Hello, Craig.
Hello, Craig.
Good to see you again, or hear you again.
Should our podcast be called Craig and the Boys?
Ooh.
Yeah, maybe we could.
I have a random question before we start. Does anybody here feel like they have a virtual pen pal, like the 2020 version of or 2021 version of like a pen pal now? And I'll explain what I mean by that is like I've been part of this group that like meets up and we discuss stuff, and it's from all over the country. So it's all these people from all over the country, and we discuss, my profession and like all kinds of different stuff. And I've gotten close to a few of these people and like befriended them on Facebook, and I feel like I know them really well. And I'm like, is this the 2021 version of a pen pal? Because I was like, I need to come visit you in Pittsburgh. I need to come see you and like come to your thing. I want to come to see you in person. And I'm like, is this like the 2021 version of like a pen pal? Is that what we've gotten to as a society now?
I guess so. I'm kind of cool with it though. I personally don't really have too many pen pals like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to actually get some people to do some like actual pen paling this year, and it didn't go well.
Well, and that brings me to something that I thought about doing last year. I just never came around to do it. We need to do like a SEMA virtual reunion.
Yeah, like they did in all the shows. It's a little late to the game, but I'd be down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could swap in some like famous people that weren't actually at SEMA, but we could get an actual person to do it. So.
Like Nick Offerman, his
right.
That one letter.
yeah. We couldn't get Matt Sawyer back, so we swapped him in for Brad Pitt or something.
Yeah.
We got Chris Pratt here for some reason.
We don't know why. We don't even know what character he's playing. He's just pretending to have worked with us.
We just asked him if he wanted to show up, and he just did.
Big fan of the show.
Nice. Well, what's going on, friends?
A lot of sport has been going on lately. We've
a lot of sporting. Your text about I don't know how much we'll have to talk about the trade deadline. I think that was you that texted me about that, Kenny. That was just like we might have a little bit here and say Vucevic, and then boom, just like that. It's like golly, man, everybody got traded.
Lots of good stuff. Lots of personally, as a Nuggets fan, it was a good day.
Yes. You like that Aaron Gordon pick up?
Oh, yeah. I like it.
What do you think about giving up Gary Harris for that?
I have a personal stake. I did like Gary Harris a lot. I really did. But, I mean, I do see the reasoning. And, like, I don't really know if with a healthy Lakers, I'm not sure if we had, like, that squad could take him on. The one we had before. But who knows now? I think we got a good shot now that we done before.
What's the starting lineup look like for the Nuggets right now? We're looking at Jamal Murray. Is Michael Porter Jr. starting, getting a lot of minutes, or what?
Well, I think so. Michael Porter Jr. is now like I'm not sure now after the deal. But Michael Jordan, he was getting lots of minutes. I don't think he was a normal like starting five guy, but because man, it's the trades were interesting because we also did get McGee from.
Oh yeah, JaVale McGee from the Cavs.
Yep, and like that's another center that like we have a lot of big guys now. It is. I don't know. I think it's actually all going to work out. The thing is, we had a lot of like guards and like shooters that were good, but not really like great like that. Mm-hmm. But I feel like after the deals that we've made, I feel like we're actually in a pretty good position now. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's good to be bold. You gotta be bold sometimes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Got 2 months left. I'm hoping that we're in the 5 spot right now, as far as the standings go. So hopefully we can kind of start climbing back up.
If the Lakers have everybody, they're like your clear favorite in the West. But with both Anthony Davis and now LeBron both being hurt, and you don't really know when either one is coming back.
True. I bet they'll be both back for the playoffs, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you expect so, but...
So did I hear that the Rockets were kind of blowing everything up, too?
Well, they got rid of Oladipo.
A little bit. Yeah. I feel like the 2 trades they made, and I'm counting the PJ Tucker trade as one of their 2 trades in the deadline stuff. I feel like they really didn't get what they could have gotten out of both guys. I felt like today's trade was really bad.
With Oladipo.
Yeah, I don't think you really got... I mean, you got some value, but I don't think you got the value you needed. I felt like Oladipo was a guy that your best move to do with him is to trade him for picks. and
Right.
trying to free up cap space. And what you got was Avery Bradley, Kelly
Kelly
Olynyk,
Olynyk.
and then 2022 first round pick swap rights, which again, it's like a similar thing with like the Bucks, where it's like, okay, the Heat aren't going to be like one of the teams that are going to have a low or a high draft pick, so it's not like I feel like there's not that much value in it.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe they were in a tough spot of everybody knew that you're going to get rid of Oladipo. But it's just with the thing that I was hearing repeatedly with both PJ Tucker and Oladipo before they got traded was this team's backing out because the Rockets' asking price is too high. Like with PJ Tucker, it was the Heat who backed out, and then with Oladipo, the Warriors were the one that backed out.
Right.
And in both cases, with what you got out of what you got for Oladipo and PJ Tucker, and I saw what they got out of it, and I was like, that was too high of an asking price. So yeah, I'm not a fan of either move, but yeah, you're probably not keeping Avery Bradley or Olynyk through the year, and
At least you got something. It's kind of one of those things where it's about that time where you kind of just have to maybe kind of start rebuilding anyway.
yeah,
Well, he's a free agent this next season, right?
yeah. But I mean, it's like you look at. I feel like you also have to grade what you got out of the Oladipo trade as a part of like the ultimate grade for what you give the James Harden trade, because that's what Oladipo was he was one of the key parts of that.
Right.
And again, James Harden kind of put him in a tough position to really get much value out of him, but
Y'all got a lot of picks. I feel like y'all. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not. You're not in the best situation, but like over the next few years, y'all can start rebuilding and stuff.
yeah, we'll see.
What do we say? Things happen fast. Things happen fast.
That's right.
The NBA, they happen so fast.
Yeah, and that's true. But I was also talking about with Will last week. A little bit of my fears are that the Rockets are like on their way to becoming like the Pistons or Kings or whatever, like a team that was dominant for like a solid 10-year stretch, and then you're just like, when was the last time this team has even been in the playoffs? Oh, when they had Steve Nash like 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. And that's just something that I feel like can happen in basketball, just because I feel like that kind of comes down to the draft, and you just don't happen to get the right guy, or you do happen to get the right guy. And the draft is so much like I get how in basketball there really is always like a clear like favorite, but you never know with like those top three guys whether it's going to be like if you're going to get like a Trae Young or a Luka. You never know if that's ever even going to pan out, or if it's going to be just an off year. I mean, we had several years in a row where there's just not really a lot going on in the draft, and then we had Zion and then I don't know.
Yeah, speaking of Trae and the Hawks, I think the Hawks actually made one of my favorite trades of the day in getting Lou Williams.
That was
such a good deal. And
and now we know how much he loves to be in Atlanta. Does anybody remember last year in the bubble when he went to the strip club in Atlanta before?
Oh no,
I think I missed this.
Okay, sorry, dang it, my bad, guys.
No, it's all good. But I think Lou Williams is going to fit pretty well with them, and I'm surprised with like what they got. All they had to give up was Rajon Rondo.
Yeah, that was a very interesting trade for the Clippers.
Yeah, because
I guess it was about the picks a little bit.
I wonder if it was just I wonder if like the Clippers were really trying to pull in Kyle Lowry, which I thought would have been a pretty good get for them. But maybe like talks just stalled and they couldn't pull it, but they're like, we still want a guy, and they're like, Rajon Rondo, let's bring him in.
He's basically Kyle Lowry 5 years from now.
But
I feel like the Clippers are probably feeling the pressure a little bit. Like they had such high expectations, like at the beginning of.
Well, there was thoughts that we thought that the Clippers would be better than the Lakers 2 years ago. Right?
Exactly.
Well, it's just interesting because like I don't feel like I really consider Rajon Rondo an upgrade over Lou Williams, and
no,
I mean I feel like for the Hawks, like I feel like putting Lou Williams next to Trae Young, even if it's coming off the bench, is a solid setup over there.
I see that kind of more as a panic move, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
They're like, let's go get somebody who happens to have won a championship before, and maybe he'll play well in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was because of Rajon Rondo, and it had nothing to do with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, or Paul Pierce, or having a guy like Doc Rivers. Oh yeah, was Rajon Rondo was on the Lakers when they won too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Hey, that's experience, man.
Yeah. I know, like, there's times I've always wanted to make, like, I always try to make an argument for Robert Ory to be a Hall of Famer. A lot of it comes down to because he was just on a lot of championship teams, or that's part of it at least. But then I hear other guys who are just like James Jones has like an insane amount of rings,
Rings.
but
Yeah, that's what happens when you're like LeBron's like, I don't want to say puppy, but like a guy that LeBron trusts so much that he's like, yeah, just come be on my team.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like, but it's interesting, like some of the guys who just have like a crap ton of rings and then are like, Karl Malone and John Stockton don't have any or something, you know. I don't know.
Right place, right time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Was there any what other deals struck you guys' attention today?
I'll go local a little bit. The Redick trade was kind of interesting to me. I thought it was a good trade for the Mavs. Like, you know, I think James Johnson, whatever the guy. Like, not that he was bad, but like he doesn't really do much for you. I don't even remember who he is. So, you know, it's not a bad trade to go get JJ Redick for the Mavs and see what happens with him and just, you know, embrace the whiteness in Dallas, I guess is what they're going for. Like Luka, and I should have sent you guys the meme. I sent the meme of the in Black Panther where Shuri goes, "Oh great, another broken white boy for us to fix." So I was like, that is exactly what the Mavs front office is thinking right now. It's just I know, but I think it was a good trade. I think it was a good trade for what you gave up. It was a good trade. It's an upgrade. Like, you get a confident shooter, and I don't know how it goes, but like I think there's something about going from, you know, not a, I want to say the Pelicans, they're not ready to contend, right? I mean, the Mavs have aspirations. So if you go from a team like that to the Mavs, who's like, okay, I'm next to Luka now, I'm next to KP, like all I gotta do is shoot, all I gotta do is play,
And that's what
and be the veteran presence.
The Mavericks
like
have been missing, like that shooting piece, I think.
I think it was a good trade. I thought it was a good trade. I think the I don't know, best trade for the day. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to run through them all in my head. Like, what I thought the best trade of the day was like I thought the Nikola Vucevic trade for the Bulls was a good move.
Yeah, I like that one too. I was pretty surprised to see him go there. That wasn't out of all the teams I was figuring would be in on him, that wasn't one. And I was really like, I feel like for them, it was also a good move that they could get rid of the Otto Porter Jr. contract. Because like, I really liked that guy when he was with the Wizards, but that's just such a bad contract or has been such a bad one for the Bulls. And I think, Vucevic is going to be a solid.
Well, I think at some point in time, like, you know, we've been talking about the Magic arc is a good example, right? Like, I if I was a Magic fan, I'd be frustrated, but at the same time, like, I get it. Like, they didn't flop, you know, until now they hadn't flopped. The Magic really gave it a shot. They went out and got guys in the past, and I think the Bulls are kind of in a similar spot. Like, hey, we got Levine, we got some good players, we got Lauri Markkanen, whatever his name is. Like, let's just give it a shot and try to get at least to the playoffs, maybe. And then maybe people will come back to Chicago and maybe we'll get a star in the future. Like, let's just give someone a shot. And, like, you know, Nikola Vucevic is an all-star. So, like, let's just see what happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, Vucevic is going to be a solid player, I think, wherever he goes. I am pretty interested to see what Aaron Gordon does with the Nuggets. Just because, like, I don't know, I haven't watched a lot of Orlando Magic basketball, but I've never been really high on the guy. As far as like, I don't feel like he's the guy who's that big of a game changer ultimately.
I don't think he needs to be that with the Nuggets. I think he's going to be like, because he doesn't need to be the star like he was over there. You know, I think because we got in Denver, we've got Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and, you know, other people.
Yeah.
And I think he can hopefully fit in with that pretty well.
And that's where I was going is like, I think, I don't know, it seems like when you're on the Orlando Magic, you just have, for whatever reason, you just have this really limited ceiling, like regardless of who you are. But then like you have these guys, like you've had some studs who played for the Magic and then they go on.
Let's say there's been some really good players for the Magic.
Yeah. And then they go somewhere and then they become, you know, they were already pretty good players and then they just elevate to something outstanding. Like you've had Shaquille O'Neal, Trace McGrady, just to name a couple. Dwight Howard, or I think he kind of regressed after he left, but
Well, I think they were always really good in Orlando at putting up good numbers and getting their teams to the playoffs. Just never quite put it together.
Yeah.
You know, like if you were to make an all-time Orlando Magic team, it's not a bad team, right?
Yeah.
You're like Penny Hardaway, you know, Shaq, Dwight, you know, maybe Aaron Gordon's on there. Like, it's not a bad team necessarily for a franchise that's not been around for a long time. T-Mac, obviously, like, but just something about it they just never put together. Other than that one year they went to the championship with Dwight Howard, they just never really put something together enough to be a really solid team. But yeah, it is what it is.
I think Aaron Gordon's going to be a really good defensive presence too.
Yeah. I think if you can get Aaron Gordon to be kind of like what Blake Griffin was for the Clippers with Chris Paul, I feel like that's probably your best hope. And
that's a lofty. But at the same time, again, like you said, like what we were talking about earlier, is you go from a team you've been on a bad team for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Not a great team for a long time. Like, you've been in the playoffs, but you've never been really showcased. And now you're playing for a team in Denver that's like got these championship aspirations. And like, maybe that rejuvenates him. Maybe that makes him really think like, man, I'm going to go, you know, I've never been a professional athlete, so I have no idea. But at some point in time, you're just going to play maybe for a paycheck. Like, I'm going to go play as best as I can because I want to keep getting paid and not get released. But then you go to the championship team, you're like, okay, like this.
I mean, look at James Harden.
This is exciting.
James Harden's a potential MVP candidate this year now.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a potential MVP candidate every year.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking about the beginning of the season to transitioning throughout this season.
Right on. Yeah, okay, I follow. And then there was another Magic player traded, Evan Fournier, to the Celtics, which I think Evan Fournier is another guy who gets really overlooked because he's been on the Magic most of his career, or I think all of his career.
He's a good player.
He's a solid wing, really good shooter. And I don't think the Celtics gave up a lot to get him.
Yeah, good player.
But
were you surprised that Kyle Lowry wasn't traded?
Not really, I guess. Kyle Lowry's a guy I like. I've enjoyed watching him, particularly when he was on the Rockets, and he's obviously been a solid player for a while. Again, Kyle Lowry's another one of those guys I don't really see him as like, I feel like you'd be giving up way more than you're going to ultimately get out of him. And I didn't think for most of the teams that are trying to that are actually have a shot at making a serious championship run, I don't think Kyle Lowry is the guy that makes the difference in putting you over the top.
Right. I don't know. I think he's a good player, but I'm with you. I think it would have been interesting if he ended up on the Lakers or Clippers would have been an interesting fit to me, but he didn't get traded or to Philadelphia, and who knows where he goes from here and all that. It was an interesting trade deadline. I thought it was going to be really quiet. I thought maybe with all the extra teams that are in the playoffs, maybe teams were still hopeful that things could happen.
Are there extra teams
and all that
this year? Are they still doing that?
Well, there's the play-in thing. I think.
Yeah, they're doing that. Like the bottom is like
10. Is it 10?
It's like 8 to 10 does like
7 through 10?
Yeah, it's like 8 to 10 does like the round robin thing.
I'm not sure how I feel about that this year.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, now we're talking about 20 out of 30 teams are in the playoffs.
It's not like we're having. It's not like we're like I get it for last year because there was kind of this like we had to cut off our season early, but this is a full season. We already have.
Do you think it helps though? Because it like might help against tanking if you have more teams that feel like they're in it throughout the year, like at least have a shot at getting to the playoffs.
I don't know because like in the NBA, like we said so many times, things move so fast, and you've got to have a star no matter what. So like. If you're sitting there, I don't think teams who are the number 10 seed are like, if we just win the round robin, we might have a shot at the title.
Yeah.
I think it's more like you know what, we're sitting here with Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic and all these guys, and like we could be good, we could make the playoffs, but are we going to beat the Bucks? Are we going to beat the Celtics? Are we going to beat any of these teams? Or are we just going to be in the playoffs?
And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not. It might just be me. I don't know if I really feel like tanking is been as bad in recent years. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's teams that are just bad, but I don't know. I feel like the lottery is I felt like a couple of years ago with because we were all waiting for the Brooklyn Nets to get that Zion Williamson from tanking so hard, but then they didn't. And I just kind of feel like teams have kind of been realizing that the tanking, it works to a certain extent, but it's not going to solve all your problems.
Right.
It was an interesting trade deadline. It got fun there at the end, and seeing the moves and nothing too crazy. You saw a couple of fire sale teams, and that made sense to me. But
one of my favorite reactions to all the trades was Terrence Ferguson tweeting out after everybody was getting traded from the Magic. He tweeted that gif from the Tom Hanks movie where the guy's like, "Look at me, I am the captain now."
that was really funny. That was so it is really funny to watch those guys on Twitter. The eyeball emoji or like the gifs that they'll put out there are just so funny to me when because these guys in the NBA do such a great job of like being into their sport and being into the drama of their sport,
Yeah.
Like you got to give them some credit for that. They do a great job of being like, "Oh my gosh, did you see that move?" Or "That's crazy!" Like being part of their own media,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I actually said the wrong Terrence.
I love that.
I said the wrong Terrence. It's Terrence Ross, not
Terrence Ross. There's so many Terrences. Another Terrence Ferguson got moved, right?
Yeah, him and Vincent Poirier got traded to the Knicks as a
big move.
They were moved
big
to the
move.
Knicks as a part of the George Hill, Austin Rivers deals.
Vincent Poirier, man, like he's got a chance. I'm sorry, that was a joke. I don't even know who Vincent Poirier is.
Nah, I felt like the best of that deal was probably the Sixers getting George Hill. That's probably a nice little veteran piece to add to your backcourt.
Yep.
I feel bad for Austin Rivers a little bit going to the Thunder now, but
his dad where was he on the 76ers?
No, I think he was on the Knicks.
Okay, so his dad was just like, "Yeah, put my son wherever." Yeah, I did see a really interesting or really funny or cool. Let me see your thoughts on this. The Thunder apparently in the next 7 years they have 34 total picks.
Jeez.
In the first and second. Like they have 34 total NBA picks. Like what?
Yeah, they've been racking them
up.
What? Yeah.
One of those guys has got to turn out, right? And they're still not a bad team.
How many have you gotten for just the Paul George and Russell Westbrook trade alone?
Such good moves, honestly. Sam Presti is still one of the best GMs in the league to me.
Yeah, and I mean, he's certainly never shown in his history a good ability to draft, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. He's not good at finding guys.
Yeah. Can you really credit him, though, for drafting Kevin Durant?
Well, that's a good point. But you can credit him for drafting Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, no, that's good.
You can credit him for getting James Harden because you look at teams like we were talking earlier about Luka, like you can give some credit for Luka, the Mavs making a move on Luka versus if you're the Kings. Every night, the Kings and their fans and their front office must just be looking at Luka just like, God. Yeah. We could have had him. We could have had him rather than Marvin Bagley.
Yeah, put Luka next to
De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield. That'd be like if you had Luka and Buddy Hield next to each other. That'd be they'd be setting like 3-point records. I feel like nightly,
They're crazy.
Okay, let's see. Was there any other? Okay, so I feel like a team that they didn't make any. Well, I guess the Heat got Oladipo, but I feel like the Heat ultimately did the best overall with a trade deadline. I feel like they didn't make any real splashy moves, but I feel like Oladipo, they brought in Bielitsa from the Kings, and they also pulled in Trevor Ariza, and I feel like those are all like quality role players that are going to sit next to are going to be a part of a good run, a deep run in the playoffs.
Do you think it's fun being a guy like Trevor Ariza at some point in time? Like, I know we're going to get into baseball soon, but there's guys in baseball who, like, just love to be on. Like, I think if I was Trevor Ariza at some point in time, you just kind of embrace it, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, I'm going to go play for as many freaking NBA teams as they let
That would be fun.
Yeah. You know?
Think about how many jerseys you got in your closet,
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Fitzmagic show going to Washington this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Just like, go be for as many teams as you can.
I know I would have a blast being in the NBA, just playing on all these teams.
Yeah, he's gotten to play next to a bunch of really good players, too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's just a fun thing to say that you've been in all
Think about all the players he's played with and players he's played against. It's the stories that guy can tell, how many courts he's been on.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And especially it's like at some point you just know who you are, right? Like you know you're not necessarily the superstar anymore on the team. It's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go and like if somebody wants me, they'll pick me up and I'll be happy to go play for them and just go and like that's just got to be at some point in time when you accept that role. It's got to be a ton of fun to be in that role.
You know, and like basketball is such a spectator sport, and we think about that as us as spectators. But can you imagine how much fun it is to watch a game with like some of the greatest guys on the court, and you're just also that guy too? You know, you're good enough to be on the court with them, but you're kind of like mostly watching what's going on around you.
Right. Right. That's a good point.
Yeah, he's played for 10 different. The Heat will be his 10th NBA team, and
that's a lot for the NBA.
And 2 of those teams he's played for on like 2 different stints. So like he played for the Wizards from 2012 to 2014, and then played with them again from Rockets? 18 to 19, and then the Rockets. Yeah, he played 2009 to 10, and then played with them 14 to 18.
Know your role, man. Yeah. Shut your hole and know your role.
Hey, yeah. Do you feel like any teams that should have made moves that didn't make moves or anything like that?
None come to mind. I feel like there was a lot that happened, and I feel like there are a lot of teams that were not needing to make moves that didn't make moves, and they're still in like good positions. Like I don't think the Lakers made too many moves. Did Brooklyn do anything?
Well, they got this guy named James Harden earlier, not the deadline, but they got him earlier in the season.
Yeah, and this other guy named Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin, right? I think the buyout stuff might get interesting because we know LaMarcus Aldridge is still out there, and Andre Drummond is now out there. So those are 2 spots where it's like, if you're the Lakers, if you're the Heat, maybe if you're the Clippers, can you convince Aldridge or Drummond to come to your team without giving up some goofy picks here or there kind of thing, you know?
Right.
So I think that's what those teams were looking for, was like, let's wait for the buyout market to happen. And you already saw it in Blake Griffin. And so we got Blake Griffin bought out, goes to the Nets. And now we have Drummond. I could easily see him ending up on the Lakers. I hear that LaMarcus Aldridge the Heat are really in on him. And, you know, who knows what could happen with that. But it is interesting to see. I think the top teams knew who they were, and they're just looking to get maybe one more piece here or there. The Bucks are a good example. PJ Tucker was a good move for the Bucks, right? You got a solid team. Go get PJ Tucker, add another piece, right? Not a crazy amount. Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets is another great example of that. I even think JJ Redick to the Mavs, like we talked about earlier, is just like, you don't need to go get another superstar. Just go get somebody who's good and let them come be on your team and let them make a difference in your team and kind of. So I think any team that was looking to still contend wasn't looking to go get, other than James Harden, there was really no superstar out there, right?
Yeah.
And that was so early on in the season. Who cares? Another buyout's happening. Like, I think all the moves that were made sense.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought we were kind of just talking about the deadline today, but yeah, I agree.
So that's NBA stuff. Feel good on that.
Before we move on to a different sport, I was going to bring up. We're still talking about basketball. We still got 2 Texas teams in the tournament.
Yeah, I was going to ask if I knew
it was coming. You know, it was a good season. Cade Cunningham took us at least to the tournament. We overcame a postseason ban from the NCAA.
What a
story!
Man. Just an inspirational.
Very, very much so. A story of prolonged filibusters and
just politics
at work. You know, NCAA at its finest. That's right.
That's beautiful.
But yeah, I mean,
it was never even a thought, wasn't it? It was never even a thought when it came to them being so good. It was never even like the NCAA will allow them. It was the first game when I watched them play Liberty, I was like, oh yeah, there was a possibility they might not have been in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And I had them in my Final Four, but I'm not surprised they lost to Oregon State, if I'm being told.
No, I mean, Oregon State was like, hot. They were hot. What are you going to do? They were, what they close to bottom in the Pac-12, and then they just won every game. And that's just why
they're like, fuck it, let's just win the tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
How's everybody's brackets look? Oh, I know, Kenny, you didn't have a bracket this year, right?
No, I didn't get on the ball soon enough. But
who's the 2 Texas teams that are in?
We got Baylor and we got Houston.
Baylor and Houston. Thank you.
Yeah, I will say the team that I had originally picked to win got trounced out in the second round. So,
who was your pick?
Illinois.
Illinois. That's right. We talked about that last week.
We can all assume who my pick was. My Pokes, but that's okay.
Yeah, my guys in Nova, my Villanova team is still in it.
Yeah.
I haven't really watched a whole lot of their games, but they look good, is what I'll say for podcast purposes. They look like a good team here.
Yeah.
For podcast purposes, as the guy who's kind of the dude from Oklahoma, shout out to Oral Roberts. I mean,
well, actually, Kenny has Oklahoma ties too.
oh,
Kenny's the original guy from Oklahoma.
okay, fair. Besides Bill Dodd.
So I am definitely rooting for Oral Roberts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That is such a fun team to watch, and I will shout out. I wish we had talked about it a little bit on the podcast last week, Kenny. I can tell you, I can show you the pictures. I had Oral Roberts beating Ohio State. That was my big, just fun pick. I was like, F it, let's just pick Ohio State to lose. And I hate Ohio State. I like Oral Roberts. Let's go for it. And I was watching them like, come on. And my first day was fantastic. I had Oral Roberts winning. I had UNT winning, and I had Oregon State winning, and I was looking great. Didn't lose any big teams. Maybe a Sweet 16 team here and there. Day 2 was just like, forget you, Will. Just that in the round of 32 was just like, yep, all right. Well, it was a fun time. It was a fun time to root for people, and so let's just watch some Oral Roberts basketball now.
Yep. I think I've only got like 3 or 4 teams that I've got. Like I got Gonzaga, Michigan, and Baylor, and everyone else I've been completely wrong about. So.
Well, I don't know who the highest seeds are all around. I know Oregon State was in that bottom right part of the bracket.
Mm-hmm.
How fun would it be for just like Oregon State, Oral Roberts, Loyola Chicago? They might be the same bracket as
Loyola Chicago and Oregon State are playing each other. So I mean, one of those teams is going to the Elite Eight.
Yeah. I just embrace the chaos that is the NCAA tournament. It's freaking beautiful,
especially this year. Honestly, I think this year anything can happen. Really.
Yeah. It is beautiful. So high seed still in there. Oral Roberts, Oregon, Loyola Chicago. Who else is in there that's high seed? USC's a 6 seed. They're kind of.
I've been enjoying watching USC, the Mobley brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, they throttled Kansas.
It's not a bad consolation prize if the Rockets don't end up at number 1. If the Rockets end up at number 1, they've got to take Cade Cunningham. If you end up at number 2, Evan Mobley, is that his name right? Evan Mobley. That wouldn't be a bad consolation prize.
Let's see whether any other. I feel like I'm kind of riding Loyola Chicago now, since if they're the team that beat my team picked to go, and I feel like they have like a solid line to the Final Four. Like
they have the 3rd best title odds. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was gonna make myself feel better that they beat Illinois and be like, Illinois just lost to a really good team. And
yeah.
But no, I mean, they have what I feel like you were talking about last week was going to be a really key thing, was the experience going into this tournament in particular.
Yeah.
And Loyola's got that experience too. I mean, you look too at, I mean, we even saw, I didn't realize that Rick Pitino was the coach of Iona going into this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, they ultimately lost to Alabama, but they made it a pretty competitive game for a lot of it.
It is interesting that Alabama and Arkansas are both looking pretty solid too. No, I'm putting all my eggs in the Oral Roberts basket. I'm Golden Eagles all the way.
You know,
if they lose, I'm gonna be so disappointed.
Honestly, like I know they beat us, but honestly, that Oregon State team to me actually it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's a fun team to watch, and I actually do think they look solid. They look good. Like that, I can't remember their center. That kid, we couldn't get a shot around him.
Is that bracket that has Loyola? That's got Loyola, Oregon State, and U of H playing.
U of H is playing Syracuse.
Okay, so that's another high seed right there. So that could be an interesting bracket down there with the 1 seed out. You know,
I'm kind of rooting for Houston. I know, like I didn't go there, but I still kind of associate myself with U of H a little bit.
Good for you.
Yeah, particularly for I know with Houston sports in particular, just not having a lot of great things going on right now. I feel like U of H is kind of like a new thing. Maybe we can all rally behind. Or maybe
they have the same colors and mascot as my high school, so that's kind of wild.
High school there, but whatever. So no, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing Gonzaga finally get their title. This might not be a bad year for Gonzaga to go undefeated, get their title. You know, you talk about how great Mark Few is, and like Gonzaga is a legit powerhouse. So I wouldn't mind seeing that either. It's an interesting term. It's so fun. It was so fun. Mm-hmm. It was that first day was so fun. Watching Oral Roberts, Ohio State, I was just like, man, this is so great. This is so great.
It's just so nice because it was like, man, like I didn't realize how much I loved March Madness until we didn't have it last year.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I really enjoyed in particular about Oral Roberts and watching him beat Ohio State and Florida was I feel like you have a lot of like there'll be like times where and I feel like the Abilene Christian Texas game is a good example of this, of where like the low seed, like one of those teams had to win it.
Yeah, that was.
But they like but neither team really deserved it.
Yeah.
Whereas like watching Oral Roberts, it wasn't like they just got lucky. Like they beat Ohio State and they beat Florida.
I am ready to get my O'Banner jerseys.
Oh yeah,
number O baby, O'Banner.
Yeah, which it's just a nice thing to see. Like it's not just like, oh, you just got lucky on a fluke, you caught the other team on a bad night. It was like Ohio State and Florida were.
Yeah. Well, and there's something very impressive to me about the low seed winning in overtime. To me, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like you get there and Ohio State's kind of coming back against Oral Roberts, and it's like, okay, now we're in overtime. Now Ohio State's had a chance to kind of regroup here. And they're just going to go out there and just smash you, punch you in the face, and go prove that they're Ohio State. But then Oral Roberts just came out. I was like, we don't care. Like, ORU, OSU, I don't care, baby. It's Oral Roberts time.
That's right.
And I think it was interesting, like that Ohio State game was like kind of like what I was talking about a week ago with like what I saw in like the Wichita State game when they lost, and then just going back to the Villanova game and like why some of these, like just because you're a high seed, when you get into that late situation, you don't have any timeouts to work with. Like the shot that was the last shot Ohio State took, I guess they had two last shots in that last sequence, but the first shot they took was terrible. You had like a solid like 8 or 9 seconds left, and he just took a really bad contested shot. And I mean, the guy, they get lucky to get an offensive rebound, and the guy ends up like missing that shot anyway.
Yeah.
But still, it was just like
I don't know the guy.
You see, like no matter how high of a seed you get,
right, you're
still dealing with mostly like not mostly. You're dealing with entirely college kids.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy for Ohio State that I forget what his name was. Maybe it was Jackson Jr. The main point guard for Ohio State was just like. He had that kind of like, I'm taking over this game, but he didn't really take over the game. He was just like, dude, maybe you should pass it. Maybe you should get that ball out of there. Like, maybe you should get that ball out of your hands.
Yeah, he kind of it kind of reminded me of the when Trae Young was playing for OU in the tournament, and they lost to Providence.
Yeah,
and like
great.
Trae Young was just like forcing up really bad shots, and it's just like that's all it takes.
I watched him play a game. I'll say he wasn't that great.
Well, here's the thing that I remember watching Trae Young that year too. Obviously, as an OSU fan, the rest of that team was that bad. That was their only option. Like,
I just remember I watched a game against Baylor OU when he was there, and he must have had at least like 5 to 6 turnovers, and they were all just like really like fancy for about 10, 15 seconds, and he would drive the lane, and then and Reed makes a good point. The team wasn't that great, and he would kick it to somebody just like a really hard pass or like a behind the back pass. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, stop, just bring it down a little bit for me, bring it down for me. Just play fundamental basketball. I don't know. I'm not a big Trae Young guy, but you're spot on, Kenny. It was like they clearly were lost there at the end. Ohio State was totally lost on what they needed to do.
It's kind of fun. I think one of the fun things about the March Madness is you just have these teams come in and they like, you can tell the teams that put so much stock into the number that's in front of their school name, rather than like focusing on the game itself.
Right.
It's like there's just teams that I think they come in thinking like they're not even focusing on the first round. They're like already looking to the next game, and before they know it, they're like playing for their tournament lives in overtime.
Right.
It's like doesn't it like Harry Potter has like an energy? I don't know anything about Harry Potter, so I'm not gonna go there.
What?
But
Nice try.
But no, it's just like it's fun to watch, like too, when you see like a team like Oral Roberts, like Ohio State's coming to that game, ultimate peak of confidence, and Oral Roberts just like slowly seeping that confidence away, and then all of a sudden, like Oral Roberts looks like they're the 2 seed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just love watching that. I love watching that transition over the course of a game.
Yep. All right, basketball. That was good basketball talk. Do we want to move to some baseball now?
Sure, can do.
We're like baseball talk.
A week away.
A week away from opening day.
Mm-hmm.
Very surreal. Very surreal.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Like, I'm ready to begin a new relationship with baseball again. Like, last year just kind of like was coming on the heels of all the nastiness with the Astros.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was just like, by the time it came back, I wasn't really ready for sports to be, or like I wasn't used to sports being around anymore.
I definitely had a bitter taste in my mouth with baseball last year too.
You know, it's been interesting. I was running through like a bunch of the rosters today, and it's one of those, like, it feels like when in the MCU they recast the guy who was playing the Hulk, and you're just like, wait a minute, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Like, you're the Hulk. You were a different guy in the last movie. Where like I like was running through a bunch of the rosters, and I was just like looking at, like, obviously like there's names you recognize from years past, but a bunch of these guys I was like, I've never even heard of this person before, but apparently they had like a really good ERA this year.
I mean, that's a good point. Like, think about all the guys that would have blown up last year, but we didn't really get to see that because it was such a short season. Think about how many like good players might come out of nowhere this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to transition with you here, Rito, because I have a list that I composed. I know we kind of talked about doing divisional picks, and I'm definitely down to get that. And I know you guys were a little low on baseball last year, and I'll tell you, Reed kind of knows this about me, Kenny. Like, I'm a big prospect fan. I'm a big fan of like the top 100 and just being obsessed with those guys and like what the future of MLB looks like. And so I didn't pick all prospects here. I tried not to go all prospects, but I wanted to go with like 5 guys as a guy who's been a little bit more maybe into baseball than you two the last couple of years. I wanted to go with 5 guys that I want you guys to really try to keep your eyes on this year. 5 guys you might not know. You probably know a few of them here and there. You might not have gotten too acquainted with them just yet. So I wanted to pitch you guys my 5 guys and tell you, keep an eye on these 5 dudes for baseball this year that I think are going to be a ton of fun to watch. I'm not talking about being the best player. I'm not talking about MVP. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm just talking about 5 guys that I really think if they're up, if you're watching highlights, catch their highlights, try to watch what they're doing. Y'all down for that?
Sounds good to me. I didn't do prospects or anything. I prepared a little bit list too, but mine's a pretty basic list. Mine's going to be.
Do you want to do yours first? Or you want to do mine first?
I'll do mine first. Mine's players that I feel like are fun to watch. I did 4 field players and one pitcher. Obvious. I'm gonna just mine are obvious. To me, Mookie Betts is number 1. Probably one of my favorite player to watch in baseball, in my opinion. He's exciting. 2, the obvious one, best player in baseball, Mike Trout. He's just overall best player in baseball. There's no arguing that, in my opinion.
He is so
Mookie
fun
Betts
to watch.
Number 2. George Springer. That's more of a personal one for me.
Mm-hmm.
I love George Springer, and to me, he always does bring the energy to the field, and I love that guy.
Yep.
And another one that's kind of obvious, young guy, Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I think he's gonna have another great season. And then my pitcher that this might be because of the 2019 World Series. I just loved watching Max Scherzer, man.
It's my boy. You know, it's my boy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You left my other guy off though, right?
I know. Francisco Lindor.
Yep. Where's my boy Frankie? He's gonna be in New York, baby. The Big Apple. I like that list. That's a really good list. It's a good. I mean, that's kind of what I was gonna start on. Honestly, really, and I know we kind of texted about it. I was like, I wanted to do like, hey, top 5 guys you should keep your eyes on this year. But I was like, and my thought was, so yes, I was gonna do like top 5 guys you should always watch when they're up to bat. But I was like, this not so obvious. But like, yeah, if Mike Trout's up to bat, I want to be glued to the TV. So I wanted to do the 5 guys.
I was almost not gonna put. I was almost gonna put not Mike Trout because I was like, that's kind of boring to watch. You know what's gonna happen, right?
Hell no. Anytime that dude is up, I am watching.
Yeah,
I'm glued. He's so good. He's so damn good.
good.
Okay, so here we go. So here's my 5. All right, these are my 5 guys who maybe 3 years from now will be your list of top 5 guys you want to watch in the league. And I don't really have them in particular order, but I want to talk about one guy in particular last. I'm gonna do him last. Number 1, this is a guy that you all know about. Last year was a weird year for him, but he's gonna come back, I think, with a big time of vengeance and like just mash the ball. Yordan Alvarez for the Astros. Okay, so I know you guys probably know him, and I know a few people know him out there, but I really feel like this year we're going to see a big time year out of Yordan Alvarez. I don't know what his health status looks like, but I just feel like if he's back and healthy, big time lefty bat, big time power hitter, and he's such an interesting story to me because he was part of a trade from the Dodgers to the Astros years ago.
Mhm. Was
and all of a sudden-
2019 his rookie year?
I think so. When he played that was the World Series when he was in there, yeah.
Mhm.
And then I know he missed a lot of time last year and had some interesting stuff going on, but I think that he's going to come back, and he's just had such a powerful swing that he's a guy that I'm like, he's hard to look away from. Number 2 guy that I want you guys to watch because I think he's got an interesting body type for what he does. I got 2 pictures on here. Interesting body type for what he does. Skinny, and he could be like the fourth or fifth starter on his team. That's really, really good. And he made his debut last year. Deivi Garcia. Deivi Garcia. I don't know how to say his first name. Deivi Garcia. Deivei. Anybody know who Deivi Garcia plays for?
I have no idea.
Nope.
He's a big time player he's a up and coming guy for the Yankees. Okay, so he made his debut last year. Righty thrower. He's a real skinny guy, but he's just got some nasty stuff. So check out Deivi Garcia. I think he's going to be a big part of the rotation. Later down the road, I think he'll be a big part of the rotation for the New York Yankees. And in the playoffs, I could see him making some moves in the playoffs and being a good guy for them in the playoffs. Next, and this guy I think has got some big-time potential. I really think he's just a good-looking – this is kind of weird to say, but he's a good-looking baseball player. Like, he's just the kind of, like, good-looking swing, just good build to him. Luis Robert from Chicago White Sox. This one in kind of particular is a little interesting because they just lost Eloy Jimenez, who's another big-time outfielder for the White Sox. He's out for, like, I think 4 to 6 weeks or something like that.
He's out most of the season, they said.
4 to 6 months. Sorry, 4 to 6 months. So Luis Robert's going to need to step up big time for them. And I feel like this is going to be a big year for him. He can play most outfield spots. I know he played a little bit of center field, left field last year, maybe some right field too. But Luis Robert, another guy to watch for the Chicago White Sox. Number 2, just because of how interesting he is, he has look to him. He's got flair. He's part of the biggest team in baseball right now. Dustin May from the Los Angeles Dodgers. You know, he's got the redheaded comedian. Who am I thinking of?
Conan O'Brien.
No. Sorry. The really, really goofy one. The Shaun White lookalike.
The Carrot Top.
Carrot Top. He's got the Carrot Top look to him. He's got the wicked little leg kick. He's skinny as heck. He wears like number 96 or something like that. He played a big time in the postseason last year, and he's just got some 98, 99. He's that look of that weird guy who plays baseball. Like, you know, every team has like that weird guy who plays baseball. Like, you guys remember back to high school, like that dude's a baseball player. Like, guy who you can expect, you know, living in his van, just throwing 99 miles per hour with some good run to it. So Dustin May is my number 2 guy that I want you guys to keep an eye on. Number 1 guy that I'm really super interested this year to watch just because of what he brings to the field, his flair. And I got some personal, Reed and I are going to have some personal kind of things on him if we talk about him here. Ke'Bryan Hayes anybody know where he plays for?
Nope.
Ke'Bryan Hayes is the third baseman for the Pittsburgh Pirates. All right.
Okay.
So if you happen to have an eye on the Pittsburgh Pirates game, watch Ke'Bryan Hayes. He plays third base.
Tomball boy.
He's a tomball boy. There it is. So Ke'Bryan Hayes, he's a tomball guy. That was my touch there for you, Reed. So he's a tomball guy from our hometown, representing Texas, representing tomball. Ke'Bryan Hayes, he made his debut last year, and he just was fantastic. He hit well. He hit for average. He hit for some power. He had some pop. But the most fascinating part about him is he has, or what I think is the coolest part about him, is his glove. His ability to field at third base is just so fun to watch. And so it'll be interesting this year, in particular with Ke'Bryan Hayes, because he's in the same division as now Nolan Arenado. And so Nolan Arenado has just been a staple at third base for so long that he's Gold Glove. You can submit Nolan Arenado in there until maybe this year. Keep an eye on Ke'Bryan Hayes, and the possible race for the Gold Glove at third base in the NL could get a little interesting. He's just a fun guy, fun kid who seems to have.
It looked like he had a good season last year, just looking at like some of the stats.
A limited time. I think he might have played around 20-ish games. And I know it was a truncated season, but he played maybe about 20-ish games. And so he could be a big time piece for the Pirates going forward. And I just think he's going to be a fun guy for people to watch. So those are my 5 for you. I got Jordan Alvarez, Deivi Garcia, Luis Robert, Dustin May, and Ke'Bryan Hayes. Keep an eye on those 5 guys. If you see them, be like, oh, yeah, I remember we'll talk about this guy. These were supposed to be a lot of fun.
All right. Sounds good.
There we go.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a ton of specific players that I'm like, I have to watch this guy or I'm looking for them to come up. I
First five in the rotation for first five in the order for the Houston Astros, huh, Kenny?
Who's your favorite player you've ever watched? Like, who's your favorite player you've watched, or you've had most fun watching? Just overall lifetime, had most fun watching.
Just coming from having grown up in Houston watching baseball, it's hard not to pick Craig Biggio.
Yep.
Like that's just like the immediate obvious answer for me.
I think Will know my answer. It's got to be Albert Pujols.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, I saw something, seen some rumors recently that he's not actually the age he says he is, but
I
heard
did
those
see something about
rumors.
that.
I feel like I've heard those rumors like for his entire career. Actually,
Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
He's still so good.
Albert Pujols is like in my brain for a while was like in the same camp as Peyton Manning and Dirk Nowitzki, where I was like, I didn't hate them as people, right? It's just I hated seeing them play my teams because they always stomped my teams.
Yeah, that's
So,
Right.
Peyton Manning like always was stomping the Texans. Dirk Nowitzki was would always work the Rockets in the early days, and then like I still have PTSD flashbacks from Pujols hitting that home run with Brad Lidge. It's just
that ball is still in the air.
yeah.
What about player not on the Astros? Give me a non-Astro that you've just maybe you just not even have any kind of affiliation. Like, and Reed kind of touched on it earlier. Francisco Lindor. I don't know why. I know why. I mean, he's just so fun. Like I just love watching that dude play. He's got the Ken Griffiness to me. Like he's just such a fun swing, and I know a lot of us would probably say Ken Griffey Jr. is one of our favorite guys. Like, is there just a random guy? Max Scherzer's another dude for me that I just anytime he's pitching, I'm just watching. You're just like glued to it. You just want to watch what they do.
For me, it would probably be Madison Bumgarner.
Oh, interesting.
I fell in love with that dude when he had that insane postseason run against the Royals, and it was just worked them.
Yeah,
position players. I like Nolan Arenado personally.
Yes, yeah. I'm super excited about that Cardinals infield with Arenado and another one of my guys, Paul Goldschmidt, has hashtag Bobcats. Shout out to my Texas State Bobcats.
Let's talk about them corners, huh?
That's a good corner infield right there, dude. Yeah, no, I like that. Madison Bumgarner. That's a good pick right there.
I know this is going to sound like a weird random question. I've got an answer for it myself. Is there any players that y'all used to hate but love now or kind of like now?
That is an interesting one.
Because I personally used to hate Trevor Bauer.
Oh, no. Trevor Bauer.
I'm not going to lie. God. Trevor Bauer to me, I kind of like Trevor Bauer now. Can't deny it.
That's an interesting one. I will probably go with, I don't know if I'd say I used to hate him. I don't know if I really liked him till recently or appreciated him till recently. Jacob deGrom.
Okay.
That dude, to me, is just like, just by far the best pitcher in the baseball right now. And he used to have the goofy long hair, and he had that Dustin May look to him. So I might have, maybe 5 years ago, he would have been on that list for that. But yeah, Jacob deGrom, just where he is now, the dude just goes out there and just like makes it look really, really easy.
Right. I don't know if there's, I already said Albert Pujols earlier, but
I'll take that answer. That's a fair answer.
I don't feel like there's a lot of guys that ever feel like if I didn't like you at one point, I probably don't really like you now. But I don't know if there's really a lot of guys,
change my mind.
Unless you're just like a dick on the field. Like I feel like I really don't have a problem with most guys.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if there was anybody like I maybe don't really care for is maybe like Yasiel Puig or something like that. But
yeah, Yasiel Puig's that guy's a nut.
But now I don't know. There's a lot of guys I like to watch. It's hard to pick favorites. I really like Charlie Blackmon on the Rockies.
Nice.
I like Charlie Blackmon's a good guy.
But
this can be a fun year of baseball.
Yeah, I'm thinking about your question though, like all time. Like if there was ever a guy like a position guy outside of Craig Biggio who I really liked watching, it'd probably be Vladimir Guerrero.
Nice. I like that one.
He could hit home runs off pitches that really didn't make sense for you to be hitting home runs off of. Like most people, he was hitting home runs off pitches that most people would have struck out on.
Right. I like that one. Do we want to do some division by division picks here?
Yeah, that's probably a good call.
Let's do it. Where do we want to stay? Do we want to start in our home division, the AL West?
Yeah, we can start there if you want.
That sounds good.
How we want to do this? That way, just want Kenny had a good idea of just saying like one person says their pick, and then we kind of say it, or we just all want to say our picks?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you, I can talk about what I think it might look like at the end of the year. And
Who you got? Who you got in the AL West?
all right, so I'm gonna build up the tension a little bit and start from the bottom. I feel like the Rangers and the Mariners are both going to be your
Haters.
two teams that aren't really put much together this year.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, Rangers don't. I feel like Rangers will probably be could be a fun team to watch though, because
No, I can tell you right now, no.
It's not going to be a fun team to watch. You know,
It's not. I'm telling you right now, dude. It's not a fun team. The Rangers are in a weird place right now.
I will say my rationale for that is as long as they have Joey Gallo and Chris Davis, you're at least going to get a solid dosage of home runs.
Okay, I 100% disagree with you. Will knows how I feel about Joey Gallo. I
do.
am not a Joey Gallo fan.
Right.
I'm starting to be a part of Reed's camp, and I'm very hopeful that he has a really strong start to the season, only because I want him to get traded.
Yeah, I would love for him to prove me wrong. I really do, but
no, I'm over him. I'm over that type of player. I am. I'm over the Adam Dunns. I'm over the Joey Gallos. I'm over the Chris Davis. I hate to shit all over Kenny here, but I'm just so over those.
Here's my problem with Joey Gallo is that he can hit home runs, but he doesn't. And it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of like the Aaron Judge thing. Aaron Judge can hit home runs and he strikes out, but he hits enough home runs that the amount of times he strikes out, it's perfectly all right. Joey Gallo is not like that. Joey Gallo does not hit nearly enough home runs to where, like, and that, maybe nobody was actually willing.
He's kind of a glorified Colby Rasmus.
Yeah. That's and
this is my take on Joey Gallo that kind of really loses him for me was he complained about Globe Life Field. The new park is the walls are too far back. It's not enough of a hitter-friendly park. And it's like, dude, if you're a good baseball player, you should be happy that you have a bigger outfield to work with. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Give me some doubles. Just give me some doubles. Get on base, get some doubles. Like, yeah, so I hate to be all over that. I just don't think that this Rangers team, and we'll spend time on the Rangers just because they're a team that I watch probably the most, and I do like them. I do think there's some fun players on the team. Like, I'm excited about Nick Solak, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, but I just think that team is just such a maybe you get what you pay for, or you get what you drafted for such a long time. And I think that their philosophy is changing as far as going after good college proven hitters. Josh Young is a great example. Like, go after those guys rather than going after the big time high school prospects who are just there to mash. And I think you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow, and I think they're proving that right now. So that's my take on the Rangers.
Yeah, I feel like you guys maybe misheard the part where I did say the Rangers were at the bottom.
Yeah, he's like, what the hell? I said that they're the worst team in the
I literally led with that as the Rangers were at the bottom of my list. You guys were just all like, well, no, you're wrong.
Yeah,
the Rangers,
fuck you, kidding.
The Rangers are going to be worse than last.
Okay. They suck.
Funny,
they suck. It's like, you're right. They do suck.
I was trying to be the guy that could find like
sugarcoating. You were sugarcoating for us.
I was trying to find the silver lining in what will be a
there
bad
is
team.
none.
But
Sorry,
okay,
continue, Kenny. Keep going.
I don't feel like there's much to talk about with the Mariners. I think it is kind of cool they got James Paxton back, and it's actually, I think, an interest is going to be
How
an interest.
ridiculous, James Paxton. No, I'm sorry. We're done with that.
I think it is like an interesting. Okay, are you guys just gotta go Skip Bayless on me? Is that what we're doing now? I'll be like the reasonable guy, and you guys
I'm
are just
sorry.
like,
You triggered me by bringing up.
You want to piss off Reed? Talk about.
Here's
Joey
my
Gallo.
5 reasons the Cowboys aren't going to win the World Series.
This is what I'll say about one last
First
thing about
off,
Joey Gallo.
They're not a very good baseball team.
I remember talking to Reed last year. I was like, yeah, no, Joey Gallo's not a bad player. I was like, I think if he's your third or fourth best player on your team, you're not bad. And Reed was like, nah, if he's like your 7th or 8th or 9th best player, maybe you're not that bad.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
It's true. To me, Kenny, you said it best. He's a glorified Colby Rasmus. Like,
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah,
Mariners,
Colby
Mariners
Rasmus,
down at the
yeah.
bottom.
One of my favorite recent baseball memories involves Joey Gallo, though, not because of anything he did, but when the Astros played 4 outfielders against him.
oh yeah,
Alex Bregman caught an out on him in the left field. It was awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, so I don't feel like there's a lot to talk about with the Mariners. Again, I like James Paxton. going. I think it'll
Kyle
be
Lewis is gonna be a fun guy to watch if y'all don't know him. He's a fun
Yeah.
guy to play.
I think it's a fun. What's going to be a fun trend this year is there's a bunch of guys who have gone back to teams they
Yeah.
had success with before. Like James Paxton's a good example. Adam Eaton's gone back to the White Sox. Jake Arrieta going back to the Cubs.
There's some good ones. So I was thinking as far as like my bad. I know we're running a little bit up on time here, and I might have to get back in soon. So who's your pick in the AL West? Who do you think is going to go represent the AL West in the playoffs?
So this was one of the ones I had a trickier time with because I feel like the Astros, A's, and Angels are all fairly close to each other. Like they have different strengths, but overall, I think they all will be pretty competitive with each other. Like I don't think anybody's running away with the division, but ultimately, I think the A's are going to take it again.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it briefly. I'm rooting for the Angels. I'm rooting for the Angels to win the AL West, kind of. Unless the Rangers do something crazy and Joey Gallo proves Reed totally wrong, I'm rooting for the Angels to get in and have Mike Trout get a good year and let him in the playoffs. That's what I'll say about the AL West for me.
Yeah, that would be cool. I just think I don't know if they have the pitching staff to compete with the A's.
I'm tired about being wrong about the Angels every year. I'm tired about
that's a good point.
I'm tired about
they're
saying
gonna be good this year. They're gonna be good
this year. They've got the best player in baseball. They've got a solid rotation. I don't know how they manage to be bad every year. They just do.
Yeah.
So
who are you picking in the AL West then, Rito?
I think the Astros are actually going to take it, and I think the A's are going to be a wild card.
Okay, I like that. AL Central, how's everybody feeling on the Central?
Well, I'd let off the AL West if somebody else wants to take this one.
I'll take the Central. You go.
I honestly, I think the Twins look really good. I mean, I know it's the obvious pick. They won their division last year, but they've got one of my favorite players from former Astro, Marwin Gonzalez, on that team.
No, they don't.
Not anymore.
We talked about the Red Sox. Didn't we talk about this already? He's in the Red Sox now.
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, I guess I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, we addressed it.
He's like, my ALSP.
Never mind. I changed my mind. I'm going with the White Sox.
I'm going to go with Reed on this one. I'm with the Twins. I'm with the Twins, and I'm with the White Sox getting a wild card. I just think
are you with Reed's first pick or his second pick?
Oh no,
apparently both.
I don't know. I'm with both. No, I think the Twins will win the division, and I think the White Sox will take a wild card spot.
How many wild card spots are there this year?
I think it's back to normal. I think it's back to 2 wild card playoff spots.
Okay.
Where they do the one weird wild card game, or the one cool wild card game.
Whatever pick it. I don't know if Reed is sticking with this team or not, but I'm gonna go. My pick out of the AL Central is gonna be the White Sox.
Okay.
I feel like they got a pretty good pitching staff, and they're one of the top teams. They're a top 10 team for hitting and pitching last year. Yeah, last year was a weird year, but I feel like they got a lot of good players where it's not unreasonable to think they could do it again.
They got our boy Dallas Keuchel.
Yeah, who pitched a really good year last year. He had
This is super random, but are you guys MLB Network fans at all?
I don't have it. I don't.
The most MLB Network I watch is if they have any of that on MLB The Show.
He is, and I hate to stereotype, but he's like, the good-looking women who talk about sports like that, like the, what's the blonde Erin Andrews type women and stuff. I hate to be like that guy, but. There's a good-looking woman who is on MLB Network. Her name is Kelly Nash, and she is marrying Dallas Keuchel.
Oh,
good for him. Good for him.
Congrats to the happy couple.
Yeah.
I love Dallas Keuchel. He's I loved him when he was here. And
I remember that wild card game against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, and he just I think Dallas Keuchel might be one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball. To be honest with you guys,
I would have said
that's great.
I would have said the White Sox would actually be. I think they could be a pretty strong, ultimately a contender for, maybe making to the ALCS. But I think it'll depend a bit on how Eloy Jimenez does with his injury.
Rehab. Yeah, no, I think I'm with you on that because I think that if they get hot, they could be really good.
Yeah, and plus that's another team that I think is really cool. They were able to get Adam Eaton back in.
Yeah.
And I mean they had Jose Abreu forever, who was a guy I'm honestly surprised they've had him because he's one of those guys who the last several years every time trade deadline comes around, that's the guy that's like first on my list is like somebody to watch is getting moved.
Jose, yeah. So let me give you a quick trivia here. So Adam Eaton is back. Do you remember who the Nationals traded away from their organization to get Adam Eaton?
I do not.
Yeah, I don't think I could recall right now.
So Lucas Giolito. Lucas Giolito was their top guy that they sent over in the Adam Eaton trade. So now you end up with now again, if you're the Nationals, you're not too upset because you got a championship and you have Juan Soto.
Yeah.
But yeah, which we haven't. We'll talk about him when we get to the NL East.
Yeah. And just out of that, I think also Dallas Keuchel is going to be front runner for a Cy Young this year too.
Ooh, that's a bold prediction.
That's a bold one.
They also have Lance Lynn now, the only fun guy on the Rangers.
Yeah.
Rangers.
But then I mean, I think Tigers, Indians, and Royals are all
they're
various stages
of
sorts. But Tigers got our AJ Hinch over there now, so maybe they got
Bobby Witt. If Bobby Witt makes it to the MLB, Bobby Witt Jr. makes it for the Royals. If it's some point in the summer, keep an eye on that dude. Keep an eye. He's on my list.
And the Royals have one of my favorite players in the league too, Whit Merrifield. But
Salvador Perez is a fun guy too.
Salvador Perez just got a 4-year extension with the Royals, I think yesterday or something like that. Okay, let's go to the big one, the AL East.
Is it me leading off of the AL East?
You got it.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the Rays from the AL East, honestly. I think they're still going to be a really good team, and I know people are so pissed that they traded away Blake Snell. They're a small market team who can't keep their players. I think that Blake Snell needed to go. I think he's a little overrated, and the guys they got back for Blake Snell, the Rays are going to be back in the World Series here in a few years, if not this year, in my opinion. They've got the best prospect in baseball, Wander Franco, who might make his debut this year. They've got, so from that deal, I think they got Francisco Mejia. He's a catching prospect who's been kind of moved around. He started originally with the Indians, and now he's back now he's with the Rays, and I think that he's going to be really good. And they got Chris Archer back, and I think, so we talked about Dallas Keuchel. I think one guy who could make a run for the Cy Young this year for me is Tyler Glasnow for the Rays. So I think the Rays will be the top team in that division. And I really fought for a long time between the Yankees and the Blue Jays as far as who can make the playoffs. And I don't want to wish this on anybody, but I'm going to say Blue Jays over Yankees for the wild card spot. I think the Yankees are going to have a lot of weird injuries happen this year, more injury issues happen, and they're going to kind of fall apart a little bit and not make the playoffs. So I'm saying Rays for the AL East and the Blue Jays for the wild card spot.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that Yankees prediction because the Yankees are my pick out of the AL East and especially the injury thing. I don't think they're gonna have a lot of injuries. I feel like this past year was a short year where they got to play a lot less baseball. They've had a good break, and now I feel like that's actually my pick to come out to represent the American League in the World Series this year. I hate to be that guy, but I think they're due. It's bound to happen eventually.
Yeah, and I'm with Reed on the AL pick, or well, not the AL as a whole pick necessarily, but the AL East. I'm on the Yankees too. I think they've got a killer rotation that they just added Corey Kluber to already, going behind Garrett Cole, and then you have a pretty solid lineup. I think your weakest spot in your lineup is probably, or just in the field in general, is probably Gary Sanchez.
Yeah. But he also can be really, really good.
I was expecting both of you guys to pick the Yankees, so my pick going, I was thinking I was gonna have a pick if I'm not picking the Yankees, who am I picking? And it's gonna that would be for me is gonna be the Blue Jays. I feel like that's gonna be a pretty fun team to watch. I think the rotation has got some stuff they got to figure out, but it's gonna be cool. It's fun to me how much they represent. Kind of look like a new Astros team.
Yeah.
Not even just because you got George Springer, but because you got a Biggio.
Kevin Biggio.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I will say this about the Blue Jays. I think one of the most underrated moves of the offseason was getting Marcus Semien.
That's a great one. And, Bo Bichette's awesome. I think that's going to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah.
And I think, I think they have some inconsistencies in the rotation, but overall, I think it could be a pretty...
Nate Pearson's another guy to watch. He could break out big time this year.
Who's y'all's pick coming out of the American League then?
I'm gonna go White Sox out of it. I think I like the team they have put together, and I feel like Tony La Russa there as manager is also going to be a pretty nice boon for them going into the postseason. I just like the White Sox right now. I might change my mind, but
I like that. I think this is a bad move, and I think it's a bad call. I'm just going to say it just because I already put it out there earlier, and you guys kind of blasted me for it. I feel like for somehow, some way, wins come together for the Angels this year, and they make it to the World Series.
I would like to
I don't
see
know.
it.
I don't know.
feel like
I think Shohei Ohtani has a good year. He's back to pitching this year, right?
Maybe.
I think so.
I think he's back to pitching. I mean, they've got Shohei Ohtani. They've got
Wasn't he quote unquote back to pitching last year? But I think he
briefly,
Yeah.
and then he went, and then something happened, and he had to get sidelined again. I think Joe Adele could have a big year for them. You know,
and they got Anthony Rendon at third base over there, right?
Exactly. So that's what I think that I think with some time they put together a really good team. I think that last year was just kind of a weird year to have changes to your team. You know, I know the rotation is going to be interesting. Like I get that, but you know they've got those solid guys in their lineup. Like how can that team not hit?
Right.
But you never know. They got like Griffin Canning. Jose Quintana is now playing for them. So I don't think that they have enough necessarily to be a big time rotation, but I could see them going after somebody in the year and getting somebody a big player sometime in the year. But like I said, Joe Adele out there, those guys, I think they're going to make a run in the AL.
Yeah, and I feel like I agree with your take on the Angels. Like I making a lot of the picks right now based on who they have right now, and not trying to think but I do agree that if the Angels are competitive, I think they could be a strong buy team at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And I think they could be a team who could add some key pieces, like get a solid pitcher or two at the deadline. And then I think, I have a different, because again, that's my big hang up with why originally, like when I was going through, they would have been the team I would have wanted to pick, but I think the A's just have an advantage on the pitching right now.
Man, I would love to see the Angels in the playoffs. That'd be like, I would love to see Mike Trout in the playoffs. I'd love to see Albert Pujols in the playoffs. I'd love to see Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs. That would just be if they made the playoffs, that'd be my team that I'd be watching for sure.
I think Mike Trout in the playoffs would just be good for baseball in general because he's the biggest market pull.
Don't say they need to market their players. I don't want to get into that. Let's go to the NL.
Before we hop off the AL, I will say I feel like I'm going to make a comeback player of the year pick, and that's going to be Trey Mancini from the Warriors.
Oh, nice. Way to hit the heartstrings.
Hey, I mean, if it worked for Carlos Carrasco, it's probably going to work for him if he has a solid year.
True. Do we want to do an MVP pick? I'm sorry, like rushing us through an MVP
It's Mike Trout.
Mike Trout.
Yeah, Mike Trout.
It's Mike Trout.
Like Mike Trout gets the MVP when he's been like injured half the year.
Mike Trout gets a little bit of that like LeBron James treatment too, where it's like he probably should win the MVP, but like let's give it to somebody else.
Oh, he didn't play all the games this year. He shouldn't get it this year. Let's give it to someone else.
He's the best. I like Mike Trout. I like that pick there for sure.
Everybody gets a trophy.
What a crazy idea, Mike Trout winning the MVP.
And do you guys? I threw my hat in with the White Sox again. Just I'm feeling like they're gonna have a really good year. With Dallas Keuchel being a Cy Young front runner, do you guys have any Cy Young picks?
I'm just gonna go with Garrett Cole, first full season with the Yankees. I know that's the obvious pick. Well, I'm not sure if it's the obvious pick or not, but I think Garrett Cole's about to light everyone up.
Overrated.
That dude was so much fun to watch.
No, I'm gonna stick with my Tyler Glasnow take there. Tyler Glasnow.
I love for Trevor. Where's Trevor Bauer at right now?
He's in the Dodgers, dude. He's in the freaking NL. Don't even start with that crap. I think that one guy to keep an eye on for MVP, for my AL MVP, one guy to keep an eye on, Jesus Ramirez. Right? Jesus Ramirez is not the name. I'm like freaking myself out. That sounds the correct name. But with Frankie Lindor out, he's the best player on that team. I think he has been the best player for a while. So I could see him really turning it on this year.
Okay.
NL?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sorry, Jose Ramirez. Sorry, not Jesus Ramirez. That's a coworker of mine, Jesus Ramirez. Jose Ramirez.
Shout out Jesus.
Jesus. Do we want to? Let's do the opposite this time. Let's do. Well, not the opposite. Who wants the NL East? Let's go East to West. Does Reed? Do you want to take the NL East?
I'll take the NL East. Oh man, honestly, I know
this is a tough one.
It's a tough one. I know this is kind of going to be a shot in the dark for me because I don't know the NLs as much as the AL, obviously. But I'm probably going to go with the Mets out of the NL East.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. Fancy.
I mean, any reason for that, or just that? I'm curious.
I mean, I felt like they were about to have a good season last year, but it was just kind of shortened. I know they didn't look like they were going to, but I've got a good feeling about the Mets this next year. Plus, there's no one else in the NL East. I mean, obviously,
Bro, the NL East is stacked.
There's no one. Yeah. Okay.
besides the Braves, I mean, I don't know. There's not like anyone I'm like.
Let's talk about the real, legit last defending champions in the Washington Nationals.
Oh yeah.
Can I get some love for my Nats? Juan Soto. So my pick for the NL East is going to actually be the Braves.
Yeah, that's who I'm hitting to.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm going to go with the Braves.
I was kind of the Kenny reason of I was trying to pick someone besides the Braves because I figured y'all would both pick them.
So I'm going with the Braves, and I'm going to say my Nats make it into the wild card. And I'm telling you, Juan Soto for MVP. And I think that we're going to start having a conversation next year about who's better between Juan Soto and Mike Trout.
It's going to be Mike Trout.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Reed.
Hey, don't be a dick. Don't be a dick, okay?
I'm just letting you know. I'm letting you know my opinion.
22 years old. 22 years old. Last year, he hit like 1,100 OPS in limited time. I get that, but like, dude, he's just
Mike Trout's like what, 28, 29?
Yeah.
I do.
Old guy.
I do see that.
He's an old man at 29 years old, huh?
Yeah, I'm an old man at 29 years old.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When I was looking at the rosters earlier and I saw Ryan Zimmerman's name there, I'm like, God, that guy's still in baseball. What's he got to be like 50? And he's like 36.
Well, and they made another big trade, in my opinion. They made a couple of good moves, and I know we kind of briefly talked about this last time. Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber for the Nats, I think, are good moves, and I just think there's a lot of firepower on that team. So I'm going to say the Braves coming out of the East, and the Nats getting the wild card pick.
I'm actually 100% with you on that. That was what I was going to say. Like, I really like Josh Bell and Josh Harrison too over there.
Yeah.
And then Trey Turner is a beast too. So
he is a beast. Kenny, why don't you take the Central?
All right.
Really interesting division as well.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I'm kind of with Reed here. Like, I'm not as versed in the NL as I used to be because once the Astros moved to the AL, that's kind of where I moved to and just followed them. So I'm not as. I
will say top to bottom, I have more teams that I like in the NL than I do in the AL.
That's fair.
Yeah. I would say
Will does not like the designated hitter.
Nope.
If I had a team I would like to see do well, it would probably be the Reds because it would just be cool to see them be relevant again. And I feel like they've got some solid guys. Like Sonny Gray's been putting up really good numbers with them.
Underrated a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he had a not so great last season with the Yankees, and so everybody's just like, that's what Sonny Gray is. But he's been putting maybe like a little bit over like a 2.5 ERA with the Reds the last 2 years.
Personally, I feel like Sonny Gray is appropriately rated. I don't think he's underrated. I don't think he's overrated. I think he's actually
he's Sonny Gray rated.
Sonny Gray, exactly. Yeah,
he is who we thought he is.
Yep.
But Eugenio Suarez, like big power hitter. I like Mike Moustakas over there too.
Joey Votto, so underrated.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. For some reason, did Joey Gallo used to play for the Reds?
No. Josh Hamilton did though. That might be where you're thinking.
Yeah.
No, I think maybe because they got there's the Joey and then the last name ending in O. Like sometimes I feel like I've maybe conflated Joey Gallo and Joey Votto as being the same guy. But
okay, I got you.
No, I like Mike Moustakas and Nick Castellanos is a solid guy too.
Nick Senzel could have a big year.
Yeah, I feel like they just got like a fun little team that could. It would be cool to see them be relevant again, but and I think the Cubs could. I think I'm gonna enjoy watching the Cubs this year. They got one of my former favorite Astros and Jake Marisnick over there now.
I don't think
Jake from Rake Farms.
Jake from Rake Farms.
But I feel like
they're gonna win another World Series for at least another 100 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they were already talking in the offseason.
Don't you put that evil on me, Mr. Bobby.
I mean, yeah, they were already talking in the offseason about trading Chris Bryant anyway, and so I don't think the Cubs are it. But
I think they're good.
If I were a betting person and was going to put money on anybody that was absolutely going to win, I'd probably put it on the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's
because they got Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt in the same.
Yeah,
lineup
That's
now, and that's
exactly
like the AL, like former AL West All-Star batting lineup right now. So
that's my pick. The Cardinals are my pick out of the Central, and that's actually my pick to represent the National League in the World Series this year.
ooh,
Nice. I too will go with the Cardinals out of the Central.
okay.
In the
And then
story.
you want to roll with the West?
It's super simple in the West. It's the Dodgers number 1, and it's the Padres getting a wild card number 2. And
Padres are number 1 in money spent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's for me. It's still the Dodgers. I think that maybe in the future the Padres could overtake them, but best organization in baseball by far right now. They're still so deep. They still have a couple of prospects who can make an impact in the future, and I think they also have a guy that I could. I'll roll into my MVP pick this year, Corey Seager for the Dodgers. I could see him having a really big year and making a ton of money as a free agent next season. So I'm going to take the Dodgers out of the NL West, and I will say the Padres coming out as the wild card and making some noise as the wild card. And they do have a fun team. Like, I know I'm not a big fan of their team, but I do like Tatis a lot. I'm not a big fan of Machado. But I love what they're doing. I love that they went out and tried to make some moves happen and really want to win some baseball games.
Yeah, I was actually wrong. Apparently at least this is for 2020. They were only the 10th highest payroll.
Yeah, but 2021 might be a little bit different.
Yeah, they did just pay like a really high amount for Tatis, right? Like like a 10-year contract or something like that.
They got Tatis wrapped up for a while. They've got Machado wrapped up for a while, and then offseason moves. Obviously, they got Darvish, Snell.
They gave Hosmer a really big contract when they brought him in too.
They did, and then there's another guy that they got, Hyun-Sung Kim. In case you guys are interested in the international market side, you might know a little bit, but like they have all these fantastic guys, and they still got the top international Japanese, I should say Asian prospect out there, Japanese guy. Hyun-Sung Kim, I think is his name, and like, where do you put him? Like, there's just nowhere to put him, but they spend a bunch of money on him.
Yeah.
Who got coming out of the NL West then? Same deal.
Me?
Either one of y'all, I don't care.
Dodgers for sure. I mean, Dodgers are definitely coming out of the NL West. The Padres, I think, will get a wild card.
I'm gonna go with I think they're gonna end up being a wild card team, but I think I'm gonna go with the Nationals making a run.
Nice. Into the World Series?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna actually go with the Braves making it out of the NL. Freddie Freeman is another guy that I really, really like. My MVP pick, so let's go MVPs. I'm gonna say Juan Soto as far as my MVP for the. Oh no, sorry. Now I've made 2 MVP picks. My underrated, I guess, was Corey Seager, but I think for sure Juan Soto is gonna be the MVP.
Paul Goldschmidt.
Oh,
I'm gonna go with my boy Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts. Cy Youngs. Cy Young across the board for anybody in the NL.
I guess I'll go with Trevor Bauer, my boy.
Now that you know he pitches for the NL.
That's right.
I'm gonna stick obvious. I talked about him earlier. I'm gonna talk about Jacob DeGrom. I think he is so much better than Garrett Cole, and he's truly the best pitcher in New York.
Yeah, fuck Clayton Kershaw. Yeah.
All right, let's talk World Series prediction.
I'm taking Braves over the Angels.
I'm going Cardinals over Yankees in 6.
That'll be a good matchup.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I mean, I guess I already picked the White Sox and Nationals, so I'll probably take White Sox over the Nationals.
All right. Baseball be fun this year. I'm excited about baseball.
I feel like I still have some weird feelings about it, but I feel like ultimately, like, I'm still an Astros fan. Like, I think the more, as much as it sucks, because like a lot of these guys that are leaving, like the George Springers and Jake Marisniks and stuff like that, as much as it sucks to lose those guys because it was fun watching them, I feel like the more of those guys that leave, I feel like the more it's gonna feel like less of a cloud over the.
Yeah.
I feel like with time too, people are gonna like not care about it as much. I mean, the Dodger fans will always care about it, but like,
they will care about it less now that they won the World Series.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting that you had like
the Yankees fans are going to be the ones crying about it the most now.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorite players for a while too has been Miguel Cabrera, and somebody was asking him about how he thought about the Astros things because I guess they were asking him because they got AJ Hinch there now. Yeah, and he was just basically like, "I don't care.
I'm here to get paid. I like AJ Hinch, just play baseball."
I'm not gonna lie. I'm just excited to finally be able to go back to a baseball.
Same.
I'm I'm
Yeah.
just
Rough
ready to get
Riders,
back
baby.
watching.
Our Rough Riders. We're
Rough
back in town.
Riders.
Uh,
That's right. We sitting in the pool this
hell
year.
yeah. So shout out to the minor leagues.
Yeah, and Will
That's
was
right.
talking about Jordan Alvarez earlier. I'm excited to get to Minute Maid hopefully sometime this year and hear him set off the train there. That'd be nice.
Noise.
So.
Well, I feel like I was going to say something important. No, this year I'm kind of excited in a weird way because, I mean, I'll probably watch a lot of Rangers baseball more than anything, but I will say when your team is bad, like the Rangers are, and I do enjoy the Rangers probably the most, but when your team is bad, you're like, I'll watch the Rangers, but I'm going to stay tuned to other teams that are like actually good.
Right.
And so I think that's going to give some opportunity. Like we said, fair weather fans, right? Get out there and watch some different teams that could be interesting, could be a lot of fun.
And I can't wait to be a bandwagon fan this year.
Yeah, boy. Who
Yeah,
are you jumping on? Who's your prediction for your bandwagon, Rito? The Cardinals?
Ooh, my bandwagon prediction might be the Cardinals. If like my B squad, I'm not sure if they're gonna have a good year. If they have a good year, if they start having a good year, I'm gonna hop back on that
I was
Rockies
about to say
bandwagon.
Rockies, right? You're Denver. Denver is your number 2 city.
That's right. Well, my number one city is I'm a Metroplex man now.
Yes.
You know, the DF Dub.
Yes. Well, that's you're
So-
similar to the way I feel about Washington. I was in there in DC for a lot, but like anytime a Washington team does well, I kind of do like watching them, especially the Nats.
I went like the total opposite way with the Cardinals after living there for a couple of years. Like I loved going to the games, but like Cardinal fans are so obnoxious that I was just like,
Really?
I only want the Cardinals to fail. I think one thing for me that is really exciting about baseball right now is just like I feel like baseball feels like it's gonna be the first like real return to sport that we have. Like
Full
following
season.
COVID is like there's
Well,
I
the
mean,
NFL, really.
like COVID still exists, and we kind of like we're getting like a sort of full season out of basketball. But I feel like baseball is going to be the first sport we get that's like we get the full run of the season. It's
Fans
gonna.
in the stand.
we'll have fans in the stands.
If I can epitomize, it's going to be like maybe like the words I'm looking for is it's going to feel like the first sport taking the real first step back to normal. Whatever that normal
I feel like
looks
this feels like a return to baseball. Everything else has felt like we're coping with COVID while we're doing our season. This is gonna like I know we're still coping with COVID during the season, but I feel like we're pretty darn close, and this season's gonna be feel like more of a normal season. So I get what you're saying.
Well,
there.
and baseball's the one really big sport that had their entire season affected, right? Like basketball and hockey were still happening while COVID happened. And I know their playoffs got really affected, but you still had a whole 75% of a normal season. Baseball had a whole weird normal season, and then
basketball was almost kind of fun with the bubble, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah, I think baseball is gonna feel like the comfort food of sports this summer. Like it's just gonna be nice to have like that sort of like
let the kids
families
play.
are gonna want to go back out to the ballpark when things are safe and like go just be normal again, right?
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
I know this is kind of out of left field, but I was kind of talking to another Rangers fan the other day, and I was like kind of talking to how unfortunate it is that that the Rangers built this new stadium to pack in as many people as they possibly can. And I kind of think that if we're starting to see more stadiums start pop, as soon as we get a new stadium, more distancing is going to start happening. Do you guys think that stadiums in the future might have not these cramped seats kind of going forward?
Well, so here's the thought behind it is that, and I watched a video on this, so I'm an expert. There was this thought that years ago, like in the 80s and 90s, when ballparks were being built, they made these giant cathedrals to baseball. And then baseball kind of took a tumble, right? And all of a sudden, they weren't really filling up these stands, and the ballparks just looked really empty and just big, empty ballparks, Like I hate to say, like Astrodome might be a little bit of an example of that. Like just big old ballpark that just had so much mass amount of seating. And then the recent trend, and this is why you're talking about being packed in real tight with Globe Life Field. The recent trend has been going to really crammed in but small ballparks, and I think that'll stay just because it makes it look like more people are attending baseball games.
Yeah, That's fair.
And I think it'll go back to that. I think they'll build more stadiums just like that and just along the same route. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you
I
need to, like, we've also got a proven model now filling the stands with cardboard cutouts to make it look like there's people.
That way you're looking health conscious at
That's
that
Then,
point.
like, all the stadiums that have had those machines pumping in noise, like, those are still going to exist probably, so you can make it sound
Yeah.
louder than it actually is.
Honestly, wouldn't it be fun to go to a Rangers game and you get to sit next to Ivan Rodriguez or like
So,
Josh Hamilton or something like? What a punch! Well, maybe
he's not a very talkative guy.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta sign off, guys. Good fun. Baseball is always fun to me. Let's do some next time. Let's do something weird. Let's do some weird talks.